Tilting his head back against gravity proved too taxing. Pain lanced the side of his head and numerous other places, too many to count. With difficulty, he tensed his legs, testing for injury. Stirrings of alarm spiked through his blood at the slow rocking motion, and he refocused on controlling his breath while he pieced all the information together. He hung upside down. Insects buzzed and wind whispered through the trees. His foggy brain worked to sort through the noises and analyze the one that was out of place. The sounds clicked, some of them anyway. He was outside and everything hurt. His head throbbed as he fought to stay conscious. He dismissed the bugs, birds, the call of a monkey, and the croaking frogs, and was left with a sound that made him uneasy. The occasional slow creak stood out loudly and clearly. A gust of wind shifted his body and rattled the leaves around him. The groaning and creaking increased. He'd yet to open his eyes. Something was definitely wrong. The pounding in his head intensified, and his lethargic mind balked as he tried to connect the dots. Every part of his body throbbed with discomfort, but pain was the one thing he could block out. What he couldn't ignore was his bewilderment at how he'd gotten there. The agony lessened. A small, smooth, repetitive touch bumped against his cheek, filtering into his awareness. He sensed no threat. With great effort, he peeled open one eyelid and tried his best to focus his blurry vision on what it was. A strand of tiny metal beads? A sense of familiarity teased the edges of his mind, and his pulse increased as he tried to remember the strand's significance. Shapes and images danced around the edge of his mind, but every time he attempted to concentrate, to draw them in, they dissipated. His efforts brought blinding agony because nothing was there. Where his memory should be, a void existed. Blood pounded in his head, and when he tensed his muscles again, the tether around his legs, arms, and back filtered in. What did I do last? Why would I be here? At each question, his mind drew a complete blank. He ruthlessly shoved away the hysteria that tried to overtake him and instead concentrated on his breathing, inhaling slowly and lengthening his exhales. As his body somewhat relaxed, he mentally rehearsed what he needed to do. Figure out where he was, why he was there, and how to get to safety. He observed what was around him with the small amount of focus he could gather. Leaves. Lots and lots of leaves. Something dripped down his face and quietly plopped on the leaves below him. Sweat? His mouth was swollen and as dry as the desert. He tried to clear his throat, but the pounding and dizziness that swept through him stopped him. The humidity suffocated and sucked him dry at the same time. Where am I? Confusion sent zings of panic through his densely cloudy mind. Still, he pushed past the nausea and impending darkness that pressed against the edges of his consciousness. He pried open his other eye and instantly regretted it when shards of pain sliced through his skull. With several measured breaths, he forced both of them wide. Greens and browns swam in front of his blurry vision. As he rocked back and forth from the wind, the object that had bumped his cheek swung from his neck. The small silver beads tugged at his memory once more, but what they were escaped him. Whatever the chain symbolized would be there for him to investigate later. The immediate problem was a predicament he was in. He hung upside down in a tree and couldn't remember how the hell he'd gotten there or anything from the moment he'd opened his eyes. And if that wasn't bad enough, he couldn't even remember his name. Mari. Branches slapped and battered Mari, stinging her arms and face. Her heart thudded against her breastbone as she gasped, digging thick, sticky air into her lungs. Damn this jungle and the stupid transporter who'd swindled her out of her weapons. She needed a gun, a blade, anything. Then she'd turn the tables and show what an armed Colombian woman was capable of. Her breath sawed in and out with each slap of her feet against the slick leaves, twigs, and branches that caught at her pants legs. The last months of her freedom looped through her mind. She'd been so close, having fled Colombia before they'd realized she was gone. She'd sought shelter and rented rooms until the day the Ramirez cartel marched through the streets, leaving destruction in their wake. She knew who sent them. Her childhood friend turned worst nightmare. Defying him would enact retribution from the cartel. It was inevitable unless she could manage to escape. Against all odds she would. Her life would be her own.
to keep listening to this audiobook. I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.